Welcome to the 8th Annual Indie Festival of Faiths. It's the largest annual gathering of Indiana's rich and diverse religious community. I'm Jill Dittmeyer with WFYI, and I will be serving as your MC for today's celebration. And we will begin this year, as we have in years past, with a drum circle and the blowing of the shofar.
One, two, back to the group. Let's go. 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. Everybody clap a rhythm. Here we go. Now back to the groove, let's go. 4, 3, 2, 1, now everybody move to the groove. Just make your body move. Hands in the air, hands in the air. A 1, a 2, a back to the groove. Let's go. Four, three, two, one, stop. Everybody move your feet. Move those feet to the beat, to the beat. Move your feet in your seat. Yeah. Now move your whole body. One more time. A 1, a 2, a back to the groove. Let's go. Four, three, two, one. Ed will play and we'll repeat. Let's go. One, two, back to the groove. Four, three, two, one. Now get ready. We're gonna do a little bit of whooping with our mouths. We go a whoop whoop
With a little bit of technology and some editing, we were still able to take part in that drum circle and bring us all together. And of course, that was Patty Dorson Freeman. She was blowing the shofar, and it's typically made of a ram's horn, as you can see, because it's kind of curvy, and it's an ancient instrument that is blown during the Jewish holidays. Hello once again, I'm Jill Dittmeyer, and I'll be serving as your MC here from the WFYI studios. And this is the 8th annual Indie Festival of Faiths that's hosted by the Center for the Interfaith Cooperation. Festival of Faiths is the largest gathering of our beautifully diverse religious community here in central Indiana. And as many of you know, for the past 7 years, we have gathered outdoors in Veterans Memorial Plaza with over 70 exhibitors and 9 distinct faith traditions all coming together, along with dozens of denominations, all of us displaying the unique way that we acknowledge the divine presence in our daily lives. We do look forward to seeing you live again next year in the plaza, but this year we're excited to share our experience virtually. And this is where we're still going to explore the theme of this year's festival, which is celebrating faithfully. We're going to be looking at our faith, our traditions, our culture, and our community. We'll be hearing sacred music, songs, and prayers. We'll listen to interviews with a wide variety of faith leaders, and we will experience a youth dialogue that is quite compelling. We also will be treated to the world premiere of international recording artist Anita Lerche's new video, Love is My Religion. But right now, I am going to be joined here in the studio by Judge David Shaheed. He is the board chair of the Center for the Interfaith Cooperation, and he's going to share a word of welcome for all of you and also introduce us to Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett. Welcome, Judge Shaheed. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jill. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. We want to welcome you to our 8th annual Festival of Faiths, and we want to thank you for joining us in this virtual environment. Typically, we have been at the World War Memorial and, as Jill said, in the park, but the pandemic has caused us to make adjustments, and so we're very grateful to WFYI and to Jill in particular for hosting us this afternoon. As Jill said earlier, we're celebrating our faith traditions, our culture, and community. And one thing we have as the unique asset here in central Indiana is the diversity of our faith communities. With the pandemic, with the virus, and the many trials that many of us have had to endure over these last few months, our faith traditions, our faith communities have sustained us. And so we want to celebrate all of that this afternoon because it has meant especially a lot to all of us. And so this is an opportunity for us to be reacquainted in a brief period of time with that diversity that has sustained many of us, and hopefully the sharing of this experience will help you appreciate the diverse community that we have in the way of faith and with respect to culture and with respect to community. And so with that, it gives me an opportunity to welcome our esteemed mayor, Mayor Joe Hogsett, who will bring special greetings to all of us. Thank you again.
It's an honor to welcome you all to the 8th annual Festival of Faiths. The mission of this event has never been more vital. A health crisis and a civil rights movement have brought change and challenge faster than many of us can keep up. In both instances, faith plays a critical role. And an event that promotes the celebration of our diverse community addresses both challenges at the same time. By keeping the Festival of Faith on our schedules this year, we preserve the connection that is threatened in a socially distanced environment. Also, by helping display the varieties of faith in our city, we are reminded of the great diversity we are blessed with here in the city of Indianapolis. So my thanks to the Center for Interfaith Cooperation for bringing us together. Thanks as well to today's faith leaders, performers, and contributors. And finally, thank you for joining in and affirming what is best in the city of Indianapolis, our community. I thank you.
And we thank you, Mayor Hogsett, and also Judge Shaheed for being here with us today. Both of your dedication and support for Interfaith Cooperation is greatly appreciated and definitely helps make Central Indiana a more vibrant community. Now, the Festival of Faiths would not be possible without the support of so many people and organizations. And now we're going to recognize the many sponsors and exhibitors who have made today's celebration possible. We welcome them into the festival with our virtual procession of faiths. And after we see our procession of faiths, you're also going to hear from several faith leaders about the value of interfaith cooperation and our community. So please take a look and a listen.
Its goal of CIC is to educate people on different faiths. And what better way to know our neighbors and our community than to know the different faiths and what is important to them.
What brings me joy? Honestly, tolerance and accepting the other person and dealing with one another with respect. And that's a beautiful thing that I see in CIC and in the Festival of Faith.
I'm very strongly passionate about CIC, Center for Interfaith Cooperation. There's a lot of desperate and dispirited conversation that goes on around religion, and we seem to get isolated. But what ends up happening with the CIC, it strengthens bonds by bringing us together. What ends up happening through the CIC is that we get to know each other, we get to know each other's religions, and we recognize that we have more in common.
That's why I'm so fascinated about is CIC, that it has just so much diversity in it and it brings people together. A lot of people say religion divides us. And I'm a firm believer that religion can also unite us because there's so much underlying commonality.
It's something that brings us closer to ourselves and to others every day of our life. And now we would like to introduce my co-MC this afternoon, Charlie Wiles. He's the Executive Director of the Center for Interfaith Cooperation. Good to see you again, Charlie.
Thank you, Jill.
And you're quite an expert at organizing these Festival of Faiths, except then a pandemic hits and everything kind of changes, but you've just kind of rolled with the punches, haven't you?
Well, yeah, and we were talking earlier, and it seems like things are happening in our world almost of biblical proportion.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we're learning to adapt and learning how, again, faith informs our lives through all the challenges, through all the trials, and through all the joy and love that we experience every day. So yeah, Center for Interfaith Cooperation was founded to bring all the amazing religious traditions that call Central Indiana home together, so that we can learn from one another, so that we can share that joy, and so that we can deal with problems before and while they're unfolding.
And as they unfold every day of our life as they go along. You also have some special ambassadors that you have recognized throughout the years that have been extra helpful to your
That's
organization.
right. Center for Interfaith Cooperation, we have 40 board members representing 9 distinct faith traditions, a variety of different denominations. Each year we get together for things like the Festival of Faiths, and we have a variety of activities that you'll find on our website at centerforinterfaithcooperation.org. One of our biggest events is a banquet each year where we recognize an interfaith ambassador, someone who's worked particularly hard to try to bridge the divides between our different faith traditions. And one of those people we both know and love, and Indianapolis knows and loves, Sister Norma Rockledge, spent a large part of her career at Marian College and now Marian University. She passed this year, and I say this year we lost a spiritual giant, someone who her legacy will live on and on through all the lives that she touched that we both know and love. So we'll just take 1 minute to remember Sister Norma Rockledge.
Yes. She always had that beautiful little smile on her face that just really warmed your heart, no matter who you were, how old you were, or where you were from.
Yeah, just a beautiful, and again, a beautiful soul that just was, the spirit of inclusion was always about Sister Norma. She did so many wonderful things.
And she certainly lived her faith, too.
She did, and that's one of our big themes for today is faith and how it animates our lives, how it's central to all of our lives. And so now we're going to hear a series of quotes from different faith leaders, a wide variety of faith leaders here in Indianapolis, and again, the centrality of faith in their lives.
Faith is at the core of why we're doing what we do, and I think finding, meaning in my life is doing something that makes a difference in other people's lives. What I would speak about my relationship with the divine, with God, that within me and around me, keeps me centered, gives me wisdom and guidance. I think faith is a verb, not a noun. So if faith is what I live out of my life and my actions.
Faith is not knowing that God can, but knowing that God will. And the hope is that He will. He will see us through this.
After coming to the US, I met people from a lot of different faith communities, and I have come to a realization that all faiths, all religions, are designed to do the same thing, to allow human beings to live a purposeful life, live a life that makes the society good for everybody. Do to others what you want done to yourself.
This mix of the people coming together, but also the ways in which we believe God shows up when the people of God gather together, and promises, in fact, to do so every time folks get together. So I think that definitely brings joy for me.
Jainism is the principles are all based on peace and being kind to one another. We emphasize on being kind mentally and physically, so that includes not bullying. We just strongly believe that everyone should be forgiven, and that peace, in peace, and just being kind to one another.
Talmud principles, saving a life is as if you saved the world. It draws me back to B'Tselem Elohim, that everyone is created in the image of God, and so those principles are very faithful for me.
In Indiana, there are several Sikh places of worship called Gurudwaras, the place of the Guru, the place of the teacher. We believe in one Creator, and His Word, His sacred Word, is what is enshrined in the Sikh Holy Scripture. And that is the only thing we venerate, not the book. We think of this as a living Word, and therefore that is placed in the highest pedestal in any Sikh temple, called Guru Granth Sahib, the holy Sikh scriptures, the Guru's Granth. And so the congregation sits in that sanctuary hall with all their heads covered, which is the tradition of the faith, and shoes are left off outside in the lobby, and everybody sits right next to each other.
Whatever we give out comes back to us. But that's a basic spiritual principle. It's helping us learn that what we do is important, that what we do has meaning. And if you want to create a fulfilling life for yourself, you learn how to put certain things in motion that do that, which is also for the good of the whole. So we learn from our mistakes.
Hinduism is the third largest religion in the world. Hindus believe that all beings have a spark of divinity within them that we all share and that connects us to one another, and that all things in that way are divine. And so we can find that connection to one another quite easily. And in fact, Hinduism believes that there are many paths to find your connection to that one divinity. And so it believes that all religions have the ability to find that path.
One of the very first lessons of Buddhism is the lesson called the Three Jewels. So the three jewels in Buddhism are Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Buddha is not only refers to historical Buddha, but also the fact, really, that everybody is a Buddha. It's just that some people haven't woken up to that fact yet, and so you do different things. Dharma is kind of the reality of the universe, and Sangha is the group of practitioners.
My faith informs my hope for the future because it calls me to look back while looking forward. So there is an African phrase called Sankofa. And there is an image of a Sankofa bird that comes out of the Akan tribe in Ghana. And in this image, you see the Sankofa bird, its feet are planted, headed forward, but its head is turned back. And the purpose of turning back is to glean wisdom and insight from the past and carry that forward into the future. It's not to become the past, but rather what's some of the wisdom we can glean and carry forward.
I just want to encourage you today that wherever you might be on your faith journey, there is a spirit of love, a spirit of life that's leading us forward. And we just want to share this good news through what this Christ plan has done for all of humanity. And so just know that it includes you. Say, I am complete. Totally free, yeah. All my sin has been erased. That's good news today. Because of the price. Yeah. Make it personal. Say, I am complete in Jesus. Yeah. Totally free, yeah. Oh, all my sin has been erased, yeah, because of the price. Yeah. Come on, if you know that that's good news today, say, because of the joy, yeah, set before you, you endured, yeah, you endured the cross for me. Because of your love, you gave, and you gave me liberty. God, I'm thankful for it today, yes. Come on and say you gave me liberty, yes. And I'm grateful for it, yes. Come on, just think over your own life. Where would I be if you hadn't died on the cross? Oh, where would I be if you hadn't risen from the grave? Oh, I'm grateful for it today, yes I am. Where would I be if you hadn't sent your Holy Spirit? Yeah, yeah, because of the joy, yeah, yeah, oh yes, set before you, yeah, yeah, yeah. You endured, yeah. Thank you, Lord, yes. And I'm grateful because of your love you gave. And you gave me liberty. God, I'm grateful for the liberty that you've given me. Oh, my soul will say, I'm grateful, yes, that you gave it to me and to you as well. That's why we can say, because of the joy, yeah, set before you, yeah. You endured, yes, the cross for me and for you. Because of your love, you gave your life. God, I'm grateful for it. And you gave me liberty. Yeah. Oh, and you gave me liberty. Yeah. Oh, I love this part. It simply says this. Listen. You gave me liberty. You set me free. You made me free. By your sacrifice, I'm free. Help me say. And so I lift my hands today, yes, and I glorify your name, yeah. By your sacrifice, oh, help me say you gave me liberty, yes. Oh, you set me free. Lord, you made me free by your sacrifice. Over and over again, say, God, I'm grateful for it today. How you made a way, oh, by your sacrifice. Yeah, oh, say by your blood and died for me. Yeah. You gave your life on Calvary, yes you did, and you redeemed my soul. Come on and put your hands together and celebrate the Lord. Celebrate your freedom. Celebrate your life in Christ. Oh, cry out, oh. Lift it up as a war cry of victory. Because you've won your freedom in spirit. Say by your sacrifice, yeah. Victory over depression today, yeah. Victory over fear today, yeah. Whatever was holding you back, yeah, we proclaim by your sacrifice. Yeah, you say by you gave your all for me, yes you did. You gave your all for everyone, yes you did. That's why we can say, by your sacrifice, I'm free. Yeah, thank you, Lord.
Jason Powell celebrating his faith with music. And Charlie, you know, that's the beauty of arts and culture and faith. There's so many ways to express your faith when it comes to the arts, whether it's creating music, creating sculpture, creating paintings. And the city of Indianapolis is very fortunate to have a lot of artists that have taken part in those kinds of activities too, that it's not religion based, but it really is about your faith, about what you feel inside and what you think inside. And it's really a wonderful opportunity for us to have artists like Jason and other people out there that can kind of make us all step back and think a little bit deeper about how we feel.
Yeah, it's true. And with the Festival of Faith, that's what we like. Mm-hmm. And we have a sacred art stage every year, and now we're doing it again virtually. But yeah, artists like Jason, singers, we have choirs, we have dance performances. So much throughout human history has been inspired, again, with our relationship with the divine and how we celebrate our faith out loud. And so that is a big part of what Festival of Faith and Center for Interfaith Cooperation is all about, how we share that joy with each other and with our community.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we started the whole program off with the Shofar, the music, that tradition, because Tradition is also very important.
It is, our traditions. I mean, again, they're all woven together in kind of how we live our faiths in our professional lives, in our personal lives, in our civic lives, how they inform who we are. So our traditions, and I know we share a tradition. We come from the Catholic tradition. One thing that's important to me that I get a lot out of, and I miss so much now in this time of COVID and not being back in church with my dad every Sunday, but we would hold hands in church and we say the Our Father. Again, Jesus was a good Jew. He learned this prayer. He shared it with the disciples, and this is how we pray to God. And in our church, at Immaculate Heart of Mary, we hold hands and we say the Our Father. And what I like about that, it links me to more than 2,000 years of history where people get together, they recognize their failings, they recognize their sins, they ask for forgiveness, and they hope that kind of rejuvenates them in that community to go out and do better. And I think that's one very important aspect of our faith as well.
I agree that reaching out to others for that help from that community and that communion from everyone else. And we're going to hear about some traditions here next.
We're going to have several, again, the beauty of Center for Interfaith Cooperation, 40 different folks on the board that represent so many different faith traditions. So we're going to hear from them how they celebrate their faith, the traditions in their faith. And then we're going to hear a wonderful choir ensemble from the Church of Latter-day Saints, and everyone knows about the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. So we're going to hear a local version of that and how that is their tradition. When they get together, that singing is so central to how they celebrate their faith.
Let's celebrate tradition.
In the Baha'i faith, like many traditions, there's a calendar, and our calendar is made up of 19 months, each of which has 19 days. And you see 19 and 9. So 9 is the most complete single-digit number. And so Baha'i houses of worship all have 9 entrances to indicate many ways to God. And these houses of worship are open to people of all faiths.
The Hindu tradition is really a way of life. So for us, the day starts with our spiritual connection with Mother Earth, actually. Before we get up from the bed, we pray actually that Mother Earth, please forgive us because we are about to walk on you.
In our church, we believe that a family is a basic unit of the church. And we believe as a corollary to that the home is a sacred place. But when the church is meeting in the home, my husband has prepared the sacrament for our family every Sunday since we got home in March and found we were under lockdowns. Now this can only be done when the bishop of the congregation says, all right, we aren't going to be able to meet as a congregation, so now husbands, fathers, teenage sons who are old enough to have the priesthood can do this for us.
When I sit with somebody else in a meditation practice, the idea is to, accept the situation as it's happening, and like whatever's going on, just kind of being okay with that, breathing and like letting those thoughts, worries, etc., like kind of dissipate. The idea of acceptance has really been important as part of the tradition.
When I think about the traditions of my faith journey, they are multifaceted and colorful. So I grew up in New Jersey in a more suburban type community where we attended a United Methodist congregation regularly. It was a predominantly African American congregation. And then we would go and visit my maternal grandparents who were in Tennessee for the summers, and they attended a missionary Baptist church way out in the country. And then my paternal grandparents lived in Philadelphia and were members of an Episcopal church that was also a predominantly black parish. And so those 3 faith traditions informed my understandings of God and faith and living in the world as a Christian.
We gather to sing Hugh together, which is a holy name for God, and actually use that as a spiritual practice uniquely for each person every day too. So singing Hugh is part of that, of getting together. And we call it a Hugh song or a Hugh chant. Would you like to hear it?
Sure, that would be great.
It's so simple and it's totally portable, and you could use it at any time, at any place, for help, for upliftment, for peace or just to feel like you're getting connected again. So it sounds like this.
We have 7 sacraments that we go through in life, and we just finished. I teach a class where we teach 3, which would be reconciliation, Eucharist or First Communion, and confirmation, and we just finished that. So that would probably be one of the most. I don't know that I would say that it's the most important tradition, but it would be one of them.
We actually do penance. You can fast with just water all day. You could eat once a day. People limit the amount they eat. There are so many ways. There is a specific diet you follow. There are different ways of doing penance.
We have 2 major holidays every year. The first holiday is after month of fasting, the month of Ramadan. And then the second holiday is 2 months afterward, and it is called the holiday of sacrifice, which is commemoration of the son of Prophet Abraham.
The Hindu calendar is loaded with different days of celebration. Diwali happens usually in the October-November time period, so it's coming up around the corner, and it is the celebration of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, and good over evil. So it is a celebration of what brings us together in goodness. Holi is celebrated in the spring, and it is a festival of renewal and a festival of friendship. And so it's a festival celebrated through color. So again, very vibrant and fun. And that celebration signifies that all people are equal.
Judaism is the concept of tikkun olam, which is repairing the world. And it's a broad belief, and everyone kind of, looks at it differently and what that really means. For me, it really means that we all are here to try and leave and make the world a better place.
Our faith tradition in Islam, there are 2 attributes that are associated with God. Ar-Rahman, or merciful, compassionate, Ar-Rahim, and the merciful benefactor. So the concept of mercy and compassion are an essential part of the religion. As a human being, I am instructed to try and do whatever I do with a certain amount of mercy and compassion.
Beautiful sounds, beautifully shot too, for putting all that together. And a real a theme of mercy and reconciliation and compassion from everyone who shared their traditions.
And we really need that message now, that message of grace and that message of patience, getting along with it, knowing that we will overcome whatever challenges are thrown at us.
Acceptance too. There was a real note of acceptance too, that we can get through this and get on to other things.
I really want to thank our sponsors, Jill. I know that we saw all of them in the very beginning in that procession of faiths, but we wouldn't be here today without the support of our sponsors. St. Vincent's Ascension Health has been a huge sponsor for us. We have 2 interfaith leader circles, the Hindu Temple of Central Indiana and Second Presbyterian Church, that beautiful church at 77th and Meridian Street. And we have several silver sponsors for this year. Don Kniebel is our founding board chair and the first Interfaith Ambassador of the Year. Then we have, there's several of them that are up there. Archdiocese, the Catholic Archdiocese, our tradition. We have Earlham College, and they are a silver sponsor this year and have been very supportive. The Jain community of Central Indiana has been a wonderful supporter throughout the years. And of course, Lilly Corporation. We've done a lot of religious diversity training with Lilly employees over the years. Then there's about a dozen folks who contributed on the friend level. And then we have all the exhibitors that helped, again, make this festival today what it is. And I think on our next piece, you'll really understand the importance of it, because we're going to have young people come together from a variety of different faith backgrounds and talk with one another about why faith is important to them, and then how much joy they get out of meeting people from different faiths and talking about it. So that's a big part of our work. It's a big emphasis of Center for Interfaith Cooperation, is to get young people involved in the conversation and to listen to what they have to say.
Let's take a listen to our youth dialogue. We think you're going to find some really insightful comments from these young people.
Welcome. I'm your moderator, Rachel Morrison. I am joined by teens from the greater Indianapolis area to come together and talk about faith and faith traditions. We are coming together today on behalf of the Center for Interfaith Cooperation's Festival of Faith. The theme for the 8th annual Indy Festival of Faith is celebrating faithfully, our faith, our traditions, our culture, our community. The teens today represent many of the faiths that make up our Indianapolis community. I would like to note that the teens will be speaking from their point of view and do not represent the entirety of their faith. I'm going to start our conversation today with our first question. What are some beliefs and practices within your own religion that you treasure?
I'm a Christian, representing the New Era Church, and something I treasure in my faith is sharing the Word of God with other people, and along with sharing my personal testimonies of what God has done in my life.
Name one tradition that has been particularly helpful to you.
Lent, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, that's 40 days and leading up to Easter. And I really like that because it's a time for you to pray and re-examine your lifestyle and your privileges. And you typically give up one thing or something, or you just decide that there's something that you want to work on. And so the past couple of years, I decided to give up meat. And it made me think about my lifestyle, and now I'm actually a vegetarian full-time.
So like I mentioned, the last 8 days we had Paryushin. So yesterday on the last day we do this 1 hour meditation. The one we do is an hour, but there are longer ones. There's 3-hour ones too. And during the time it's you pray, and then afterwards, so normally we would be doing it in person, so you kind of go up to everyone and you say this phrase called Michami Dukram, which is just asking for forgiveness for everything you've done wrong to them or just in general in the past year.
Okay, that's pretty similar to what I'm about to tell you guys, which is about Yom Kippur, which I mentioned before because it's one of the fast days. But basically it's the Day of Atonement. So you're kind of reflecting on your actions and your relationships from the past year, and kind of how you want to improve yourself and how you interact with other people. And so you're kind of at services, so you're at synagogue all day, but one thing that a lot of people do is you're seeking forgiveness from other people for how you may have harmed them.
All right. How does your religion describe community?
So there's a saying in Hinduism, it's Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and that translates to the world is one. So we believe that like everyone's our family and should be treated as such. And community is super important in Hinduism because like whenever we get together to pray, like do puja at the temple, there's like hundreds of people there. Whenever we like have our holidays, it's like with your family, your extended family, your neighbors, everyone. It's great.
Yeah, we also believe that everyone is children of God, and that that we should serve others. And there's a scripture that we have that says, when you are in the service of your fellow beings, you're only in the service of your God, which means that when you're serving others, you're serving God, and just doing the right thing and helping others is something that's really important in our religion, but also it's just something nice to do as others.
What is it like to be engaged in youth faith-based activities in Indianapolis?
I think, like growing up like as a teenager is like hard as is, and so finding like your community with either your religion or culture wherever you're from, I think that's so important because there's a lot of struggles that I face just growing up as a Muslim in America. And having people to relate those with, especially teenagers who are going through the same things, is nice because it's not something you can talk to with everyone, even though, I'd like to share my experiences as well. But I also think like interfaith activities are so good just to learn about everything. And it really does open your eyes, I think, to a lot of things that you would not have known. Like I would not have known many of these things I'm learning right now.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how like this whole time period has in some ways like made us so separated, but at the same time like connected us in like so many different ways, and allowed us to see how important it is to find community in different aspects and through different modes. So what is one thing that you want people to walk away with from watching today's program?
I just wanted to say that I think it's so cool that I haven't met any of you guys in person before, but I think it's so cool that we can all get together today to talk about our different religions and talk about and see the similarities that even though we're all so different, there's some still sense of unity in it.
Yeah, I think one important takeaway would be, although we're super different, the values that we have, the shared principles, it was nice to see, and I think we should all talk to people of other faiths more often and maybe try to relate to them more.
I think we've all kind of gotten this from listening to each other today, so I hope other people listening to it will also realize how although our religions are all really different, some basic ideas and concepts are all pretty similar. And so although each religion is different in its own way, we kind of believe the same values, and I think that's really cool how we're all similar in ways as well.
How about that? Some very honest, open conversation from young people. We need to engage and listen to them more and more all the time. Really noted that how many of them talked about they like to take the time to appreciate the traditions and their faith, something that maybe you wouldn't think that a busy teenager would want to do. Very insightful indeed. Well, up next, joining me here in the studio is Sonal Sanghani. She is a member of the Indianapolis Jain community. She's also a board member of the Center for Interfaith Cooperation and the chair of the steering committee for the Festival of Faiths. Welcome again, Sonal. Good to see you.
Thank you, Joe. It is a pleasure to be here. It is really exciting to be partnering with you and WFYI for this production. It has been really fun.
It's been a lot of work too, let's be honest here, because the pandemic threw everything into a whole different mode of operation. You and Charlie and others at the Center for Interfaith have had to redo the whole the festival. But in a way, you've learned more about your faith by listening to all these videos and all these people who contributed. So many people contributed, wanted to be a part of it.
That is so true, because usually the festival is held downtown and you have 5 hours. And so we had to put a lot of thought into making this similar experience in such a short time, but it has really made us focus on values and what is important to the community and other faiths.
And really gives us all an even deeper dive into culture and the importance of culture when it comes to our faith.
That's correct. And that is our next segment. And I'm dressed for culture today.
You are. You're wearing your sari. Tell us about this. It's a beautiful garment, but it has a lot of meaning behind it.
Well, yeah, it's a garment worn by many different faith traditions in India. This would be probably a party or a wedding type outfit.
The colors and the different materials in them, do they all have different meaning? And I think you said your mother helped make part
Yeah, so actually my sister gifted me this sari and my mother has stitched this lace onto this sari. So this is a very special sari for me. The colors don't have significance other than usually they are bright colors for bright events.
But culture is a very important part of our faith, and we're going to hear some more people talking about that as well. And we're also going to hear a little bit of some important music from the Muslim community as well.
Yes. So regarding culture, people usually associate culture with a larger group of people. But culture can also be very personal based on people's faith and their journey through social as well as the broader community as at large. So. And there is culture within culture. Like I am representing Indian culture, but in India, the diversity is so huge. Like we have so many different faith traditions. We have Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, Jains, and many more, and Sikh, and many more. So it's a very vibrant community. So we all have our Indian tradition, and within that we have our own culture based on our faith or based on the language that we speak.
Okay. Well, let's take a listen here. We've got some quotes coming up from some other folks sharing their information about culture. And we're also going to hear from the Turkish Muslim group that will be talking about the Quran and playing the ney, which I believe is a certain kind of instrument as well.
Yeah, it is almost like a flute, but it's different. And Miraç, who is the ney player, has a team of folks who are going to read from Quran while he's playing the ney instrument. And it's a very beautiful piece of their culture, the Turkish culture.
All right, let's listen to some culture and some more beautiful music.
Community is one of those really key aspects of each religion, and how each of those religions thrive within their culture or from the culture from which they have emerged, because religion and culture go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
Our culture, our way of living, and our belief is exhibited in everything we do. For example, I would have said namaste to you. What does the namaste means? I bow down to divinity in you, and there is no distinction between you and me. We are one and the same at the deepest level of our being. So that is why our culture and our religion are very much intertwined.
I think about everything that each individual member brings to the community of our church. We all have our talents that make everything run smoothly. So when we all come together, it's just this amazing concoction of culture.
So Ajwa is a name given to a girl born on Monday in parts of West Africa, and my family is from Ghana, West Africa. Satrakian is my husband's last name, and he's Slovak Armenian, and Satrakian is an Armenian name. And Ulzin is my father's last name, and it's a Ghanaian last name of Dutch origin.
I really like going to my dad's
family parties because we get to wear very nice outfits that represent my culture.
India is such a diverse country, and Hinduism's birthplace is obviously the country of India, but so Hinduism is practiced in a variety of different ways throughout the country, which really leads to wonderful color and creativity in how things are practiced. Celebration is very important. Of course, as in most cultures, food and family are a big part of celebrating, and music becomes a really important part of most Hindu celebrations. So it's a very vibrant, very happy, very joyful time for people to come together and to celebrate.
You know, inherently food is always a part of so much culture and tradition, and it is where our families come together during all of our holidays. And so some of the best memories are really around the dinner table and just really learning and growing.
We attended a Buddhist temple in Chicago, and so I grew up with not only Buddhism as it passed through my mother, through her love. But also like actually attending a Vietnamese temple as a matter of course. It was only, now that type of Buddhism is a little bit different. It's Pure Land Buddhism. There's a lot more chanting and so on and so forth. But it wasn't until a bit later in life that I encountered Zen practitioners and realized that kind of my version of Buddhism that I had been practicing in one way or another was something called Zen Buddhism.
Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü en la ilahe أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة.
Thank you, Miraç, for sharing the words of the Quran with the beautiful, that ney, that instrument. And once again, as you mentioned, that so many different cultures coming together, but all for the same purpose.
That's exactly true. Yeah, it's so true. It has been, putting this festival together has been really a beautiful experience. We have learned so much about different faiths when we are trying to look at all these different pieces and put them together.
And the way people still reached out and wanted to be together, even though we can't be together outdoors physically, in a way, this is much more intimate. And I think we're getting a little bit closer to people's hearts this way.
It looks that way. It certainly feels that way to me.
It certainly does. Once again, we wouldn't be able to put the festival on with a lot of help from a lot of people.
That's true. And I have to start off with thanking the Festival of Faith Steering Committee, which is Cenk Kandemir, Marla Topio, Maria Pimentel Gannon, Reverend Arion William, Kevin Kimbrough, Charlie Wiles, Ruth Ellen Homer, Alison Bishop, and Ray Mills. Thank you to all of them for their endless hours that made this possible. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors, the Interfaith Leaders, our Hindu Temple of Central Indiana and Second Presbyterian Church. And our silver sponsors are Earlham College, Catholic Archdiocese of Indianapolis, CIC's founding board member and first Interfaith Ambassador Don Kibo, the Jain Center of Central Indiana and Eli Lilly and Company, and all the friends, sponsors of CIC and this festival.
It's a community. It's the CIC community, and that's what all of this is about in this festival as well, and that kind of leads us to our last part of our celebration.
Yeah, the last part of our celebration is about the community. And, you know, when we started thinking about this piece, 2020 year was not lost on us. It has brought us so many challenges. It started with COVID pandemic and then the shutdown and
the racial disparity with all the Black Lives Matters that moved in as well.
Black Lives Matter movement and now the fires on the West Coast. So it doesn't seem to stop. But at the same time, it has brought out the good in people. People have stepped up to help the neighbors. They have actually stepped out of their comfort zone and stood up for supporting the Black Lives Matter and inequality. And it has definitely made us think about others.
Right, it kind of goes back to all of the other parts of the festival that we've been talking about, that empathy, that reconciliation, that mercy, that knowing we're going to get through it when we're all together.
Exactly.
No matter where we're from or what we're doing, at the very core, we all want the same thing. We want
That's
peace
true.
and love and happiness and equality for everyone. And I think these last two pieces are really going to sum that up well for us, aren't they?
They are. So the first part is the views from community about what's going on and what speaks to them. And it can be challenging to hear that, but it is important because that's what people are feeling and going through right now. Then we have a spoken words original piece by Reverend Delores Thornton. And she is, that poem is going to touch you to your core. And then we hope to come back with some of the hope that the community has to offer and leave us on a brighter note of love.
Keep that in mind as we share a little bit of our community with you right now.
The thing that brings me the most joy, this is going to sound strange, is but spending time with people who do not identify as being Baha'is. This sense of being connected to a community. And so a Baha'i community is made up of human beings who really want to connect to what is divine and manifest that through action and service.
Whether that's a large action or a small one, well organized or not. A personal commitment, wanting to find ways that we could be engaged in the community to bring people together and to do the same types of things, anti-poverty work, homelessness work, anti-racism work.
I'm an immigrant, and I work very, very closely with other immigrants from all countries. Many of the immigrants that I work with are undocumented. And I use the word undocumented intentionally because a lot of people call them, especially on the news, call them illegals, and people are not illegal. Their immigration status is illegal, but they are undocumented.
First on inclusion, I will start off with I am gay. So that, obviously adds a whole different layer to really looking and finding community within community. And also really understanding that not everything is as inclusive as we would like it to be. I mean, just quite frankly, I think that, and this is important for all communities.
When the pandemic comes, things can be rough, and that's where you really need to just maintain a strong faith. People can get angry during these times, they can get sad, but we need to be able to maintain peace with ourselves and everyone else, and it just gives us that motivation that we can overcome this hurdle.
Interfaith work is a way that we can together learn from each other, but also afford everyone this human dignity. Not that it's ours to grant, but we can also treat people with dignity.
We all grow up in our silos, and most of us die in our silos, and my passion is to get people out of those silos, talk to each other. It's called Fisher's Multi-Faith Community for Compassion. So the idea is just to bring all faith leaders, city, community leaders together from different faith groups and try to do things together that are good for the society.
We bring everyone together, Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, agnostics, atheists, everybody together to have some dialogue and support each other and share what our different traditions have to offer. It's actually sort of like a mini festival of faith on campus.
Jewish Community Relations Council is an organization that is kind of twofold. We very much look in towards the Jewish community at the concerns that really affect our community, like anti-Semitism. But we also look out and see what is happening to the rest of society and how we can come together, like fighting racism, fighting Islamophobia, homophobia, and really just hate and bigotry across the spectrum. And we do that by building relationships and understanding between all of our communities.
Religion is fickle, and religious people are dangerous. Religion, on the one hand, has the capacity to invoke convictions that demean and diminish and demoralize. But it also has a capacity to inspire convictions that are courageous and compassionate and creative. And religious people have used it in both ways throughout history. It's a daily choice to live into those better aspects of my faith, those things that bring people together, the things that build up communities, and to stand against and oftentimes speak against those things that tear people apart.
The universal approach comes down to everyone is a child of God.
And so we do everything we can to understand where our other brothers and sisters are coming from. We teach our members to be kind and compassionate and aware, to be involved in political or community or other organizations that can be of help, to give generously of their time and their finances and whatever resources they have to try to be involved and try to make a positive difference.
This idea that we are created by this awesome God automatically means we are loved, we are valued by God. And so anyone who does not value our lives and is offended if we say Black Lives Matter, your offense is actually toward God, not me. So, I'm done sort of asking anybody to affirm my life. I say Black Lives Matter. When I say that, it's a deeply spiritual claim, right? It's not simply political, or it's political in that I'm demanding my rights and you got to do better. But that's an extension of God's grace, that there is a movement for people to say, do better, and this isn't okay. So it's not even about, it's about how people miss the sanctity of life as God has established it.
White people will never understand Black tears. Just what are Black tears, you ask? Black tears are the result of various emotions, some shared with other races, ethnicities, and people of various religious persuasions. There are tears of extreme joy when our children excel in school, we advance on the job, or close on a new house. There are tears of sadness when we witness a grave injustice or console a dear friend who has lost a loved one. And then there are tears which defy explanation. Tears shed by Blacks in America. Tears which stem from a deep layer of consciousness. Tears steeped in memories as recollections of painful events surface to remind us of a sordid past. Black tears represent the lynchings of men, women, and children who were first raped and beaten. Black tears result from being trapped in substandard housing. Black tears appear when we're passed over for promotion. Black tears come from seeing our parents disrespected, seeing our children disrespected, and being disrespected ourselves. Black tears burn, they sting, they appear to come directly from the heart. Black tears roll down the cheeks and pierce the soul. Black tears come as Blacks stand before a criminal justice system waiting on an unjust verdict. Blacks have a different hue than you, but why are you so offensive, rendering Blacks defensive? So much systemic racism, institutional racism, pure, undiluted hatred. Black tears are at the intersection of helplessness and hopelessness. At times, Black tears are so heavy, it seems as if the sky is crying. Ancestors crying out from the great beyond. Neighbors crying out from dilapidated wraparound porches. Children crying out from classrooms where they are not allowed to wear their hair as it grows naturally out of their heads. Black tears fall when we can't shop, can't jog, can't drive, can't walk, can't have a Black Lives Matter mural in downtown Indy. Black tears fall when we can't breathe. Black tears cloud our vision, just as the lead clouds the water our babies drink and peels off the walls of ghetto homes. White people, hear me, but you'll never understand. Or will you?
what does the book of Micah remind us to do? But to do justice, love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. And doing justice on behalf of all God's people, particularly those who are oppressed and dispossessed. And in this instance, African Americans is an essential part of doing the work of God. It's time for people of faith to really put their faith into action, to no longer just look at it as something that's private and personal, but rather something that gives expression in very public ways. When you see injustices happening to certain people, to not just look away and say, well, that's not my problem, but rather stop for a minute and empathize and say, how would I feel if my loved one was being treated that way, my spouse, my child, or me? And to take the kind of action that you would take as if it were happening to someone that you cherish and love deeply.
Now is the time for the unity of all of humanity. And so with all of this upheaval, we also recognize that there are two processes at work. One of disintegration, which also requires a force of integration. And when society is crumbling, it actually inspires change in many people. We're going to have to work to build something better.
I would say in the chaplain's office, our job mainly serving and ministering those who are in difficult moments, both officers and also civilians. The last thing people would like to question is your faith at that moment. They wanted love, they wanted compassion, they wanted empathy, and which is actually a part of my faith. So the most important part is, we bring peace in the midst of chaos.
There is a commonality when you're seeking the transcendent in this life towards the next. There are common values and virtues that run throughout each of the religions. I try to promote people continuing to think about how they relate to other religions and to other Christians, and how we can inform each other and be better in our each individual faith expressions by being well informed and even getting to know each other. Especially the relationship is everything. Getting to know each other, honor each other.
This is my 56 years in this country. I have not seen such a racial divide in the country. And we must develop a mutual respect and mutual trust in each other in order to really heal ourselves in a way. That requires, for a minimum requirement, to be a human being. A love for each other.
And that really at the core is how we fight anti-Semitism, is by building a healthy, pluralistic society. And so that means right now, we're very, very invested in racial justice. At the same time that this is all happening, we obviously have a growing rate of anti-Semitism too. So our community is very worried about both.
If we've learned anything in this pandemic, slowing down isn't the worst thing. And there are things that we need to act upon. So right now, a lot of our anti-racism work has been internal, and we have a lot of work to do. And it hasn't been, we haven't brushed over it, right? We've had some pretty difficult conversations, but at least we're not silent.
There is a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of difficulty right now. And in terms of addressing that, one thing that really comes to my mind is that we should all and could all learn to be better listeners. Because what's happening is that people are listening only to jump in and change it to their agenda. And if we were really listening to each other without an agenda, truly deeply listening, we probably take some of the edges off.
It's love of God. It's the feeling we get from the Holy Spirit that we are on the right track, that what we are doing is pleasing to God, and we are making a positive difference in the world.
I think it's wonderful that we can be together. I know that an online thing like we're doing is different, but there's some good things that have happened, because there are people, I think, who are going to be watching this whole event in India and around the world. And so it makes me feel great to be a part of CIC's event here and what we're doing together. And I just want to say for all those who are committed to interfaith work, keep doing this important work because it makes a difference.
Well, Reverend Delores really laid it out there for us very, very blatantly. And if you're listening, then it gives us a place to go. And as our other leaders were saying, it's all within us. We have the faith, we have the grace, we have the empathy within us to come together to help lift others up this way.
It's so true, Jill. And yeah, that poem was so visceral. You really feel it. And like they said, this is a moment. I loved the quote from the woman from the Baha'i tradition that when there's disintegration, there's also integration. And when there is this tumult, there's an opportunity to build back and to build it better. And I really just think that that's incumbent upon us to make that happen, each in our own way. But it requires listening, like I heard in those quotes, but it also requires action.
Action and working together. And the other beauty of the fact that this is a virtual festival of faith is you can listen to this over and over again, and you can push it back and hit points from the young people that we heard from today.
That was beautiful.
From all of the cultures and the traditions, and you can really see that the feeling, it just weaves its way all the way through, and that's exactly what the center is for, the full circle that you serve.
To find the sweet in the bitter. And we're going to end with a beautiful song, actually. A song that has a really striking theme. It feels like it's a very universal message. It feels like a very universal vibe when you see it. It's all filmed right here in Indianapolis. It was filmed with a local but internationally renowned recording artist, Anita Lerche. And Anita, you can see more of her work at her website, anitalerche.com. But we're going to end with a beautiful song, a beautiful message, and it's called Love is My Religion.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the world premiere of her new video and song, Love is My Religion. The beauty of the White River, the beauty of Indianapolis, and what a lovely and hopeful song.
I agree. Nature is such a healing force, right?
It is.
And love is such a healing force, and that is the overriding theme, that love, through our religious traditions, through our religious culture, through our faith, will bring us through any challenges that we face.
And we celebrated today with the Festival of Faith as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It was the 8th annual Festival of Faith, and we'll hope to be outdoors again next year. But in the meantime, people can learn more.
Yeah, come to our website. There's a way that you can engage the festival in the Center for Interfaith Cooperation. We have a digital dialogue. We have a lot of events. We have a movie coming up with Butler University next week. So visit our website, www.centerforinterfaithcooperation.org, and get involved and contribute so that we can continue the good work of bringing all of us together across faith traditions to build a better community for all of us.
Thanks, Charlie. It's been wonderful spending the afternoon with you.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you for all the support from WFYI.
Thank you, all of you, as well. Enjoy the day and continue to keep your faith.
Goodbye.